Ellen.
Hi.
And say hi to Molly. And I'm Jessica.
Hello, hello, everybody.
So tonight we are here and we are going to talk about Spirit Team. And this has been such a great topic that has come up often in several of our talks when we've had different energy practitioners on in Soulfire. And so tonight we're going to jump forward and talk all about spirit guides and angels and on and on. Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah, great. Well, let's kind of get started. I think why don't we start with like spirit guides? Spirit guides are such an amazing thing, and this is something we have talked about a lot on here. So, I know for me, I've talked about Lynn Cottrell. She drew my spirit guide for me when I was in Arthur Findlay, and it really helped me to have that visual. But that, because I was very new in my energy work. I didn't fully understand, and I tell people all the time. She like put the crayons down and was like, "I'm gonna have to draw this later. They have so much to say to you," because I wasn't paying attention. I didn't understand, and I mean, and even now, like somebody last week, my dad popped through, and they were like, "Your dad says you've blocked him." And I'm like, "I did. Like, how did I do that?" So so they will find ways to get to us. They will make sure that we're hearing them, whether it's through our body, through our thoughts, through visuals. They're really going to help us. I like to call my guides my Jiminy Cricket.
Nice, I
Like
like
this.
that.
Well, actually, I think I wrote about that for this month with Yes Louisville, and Jiminy Cricket with Pinocchio. He'd say, "Go this way," and Pinocchio would say, "No," and there goes his nose. So my guides often are like, "Jessica, go this way." I'm like, "Why? I always go that way." And they're like, "Jessica, could you just listen, please? Please
That's true. They get our attention though, don't they? One way or another they do. And when you said that you blocked, I don't know that you blocked, but sometimes when a energy is very familiar, it's harder to differentiate, the
Mhm.
because it's so familiar.
That makes
Yeah,
so
it feels like part of what's used to coming through, so it doesn't feel like something that's really grabbing for our attention.
that makes so much sense, and I'm sure everybody needed to hear that. It's so natural for me to connect, and even anymore I'll be asking a question and they'll cut me off mid question. I'm like, okay, well, thank you for that answer.
Yeah, yeah, I have the same situation with mine, and I think one of the reasons that we really wanted to introduce this topic tonight, and especially to have you on, Ellen, is that like Jessica mentioned, we've got so many folks that are listening and participating in these that are they're new to their gifts, they're new to the energy game here, and they're trying to figure it out. And there's certain schools of thought that say that there are you have a certain number of guides, and they each have a certain number. They each have a certain role. And then there's the opposite end of the spectrum, which is there are no rules at all. Oh, you could have 3 guides, you could have 533 guides, just depending on where you are and the path that you're walking. And so, what is, I know that you work a lot with, your spirit team. Tell us about your experience with that. How do you work with them? How do they work with you one-on-one versus working with you when you are communicating with deceased loved ones?
So, Molly, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I can hear Jess, but I'm having a hard time hearing you.
That's okay. I will
Yeah.
repeat. So Molly was talking about how you work so closely with your spirit team, and
Mhm.
how does that work for you, kind of your experience working with your spirit team. And I wanted to actually add, like, tell us a little bit about your work in general and with your spirit team. And it's kind of an
Mm.
open-ended loaded question there.
I'm
Molly,
just like, wow.
did I say that well enough? She's got her earphones in.
Okay.
Yes, yes, Ellen. Let's
Okay.
start there.
Okay. So what do I do? Um, hmm. Well, I do a little bit of everything. Whatever. y- I have very many certifications, so many certifications. I'm pretty sure I could be certifiable with how many, because it was something that I did for the last 20 years to nurture my soul, to feed my soul. Very curious and exploration. And so I have healing modalities, Akashic records, working with the angels, access bars, um, mediumship. As you know, we've had the opportunity to serve all three of us on the same stage. That's always been um, a joy too. And so, I labels are one of those things that I tend to go "Ugh," because soul oracle, mystic messenger. When a client comes and we sit down or we're in a group, that the ask, the prayer is that um, any and all are welcome that will best serve the client and the highest and best. And often it is guides and angels, it's mentorship, it's creating a space, a sacred space whereby they can experience their own connection with their guides, their angels, their loved ones, but creating that space and for them to discover their own connection because we're all spirit embodied. We are all, we all have different bodies that we're in, but we're one spirit. And so it is typically opening up. Typically, people who come to me have had experiences and are seeking clarity or empowerment. Empowerment for them. There is there's a language, there's a connection um, that is specific to each guide, each energy that we connect with. Would you all agree with that too?
Absolutely.
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 And so what do I do? I'm just me. I'm just me and allowing to be a channel for messages, for uh, to share visions and um, divine blueprint. Typically, a lot of it has to do with healing and coming to understand, for a person to understand a little bit more about themselves. And that's just creating the space for that.
How does your spirit team come in for you? And that's, kind of, I don't even know if it's coming in, but
They're there.
do you have, yeah, yeah, they're always there. When you're working with people or doing different healing modalities, and I would say mediumship is a
Mhm.
mystic, messenger as well. And you do have some shout outs here because somebody just Beth Bennett said you're a mystic messenger. And we have a lot of hellos. I just want to say hello to all of you out there. And then you had Danielle Perkins shouted Ellen with the heart. I want to give you that, like, pump you up with all these
Thanks.
hellos. So I want to thank everyone for commenting, and please continue. And if you have questions, please ask. But
Right.
you know,
So it's asking. So everything's vibration. Um, and so again, I don't know who's on, but speaking to anyone that may see this later on as well, everything is a vibration. And when you're working with loved ones, guides, angels, archangels, ascended masters, the divine, it is we're calibrating, we're aligning energetically. And so they're always trying to connect with us. We all have a spirit team. My understanding is that we all come into this world with an angel and we leave this world. We drop our bodies, we leave this world with an angel. We are really never alone. And no, they're not spying on you in the shower. I used to think that too. It's like, ooh, are they watching me? But they see an energy. And so there's a great book that crossed my path probably 20 years ago, Hands of Light. Have you all heard of that? Where
No.
it describes the different energetic bodies. But we are when we connect, we have to raise our vibration, and um, they kind of come down. Like with mediumship, we've discussed that we have to calibrate our energies to get that clear message. And the most important thing is to invite them in. So each morning when I wake up, I ask for my angels to intervene in my life for the highest and best. Um, this started for me many years ago, 22 years ago, when I prayed very fervently the prayer of St. Francis. Be careful what you pray for. I did not realize that when I was asked to be a channel that I would actually be like this kind of channel. Jokes on me. So, but just asking, inviting them in, and they will communicate with you at the level of which you are most comfortable. I've had people ask me, "Oh, do the angels come flying in, and do they look like cherubs?" For me, it's always been I see them energetically, and so there's colors associated with it, but it's more of a resonance. Now, I have had experiences whereby someone will come, and I know it was an angelic um, experience, and there will be a message exchanged, and then I turn around and poof, they're gone. And many people I've heard that time and time again, that somebody shows up at just the right moment, and then they're gone just as quickly. And so I guess it depends on how we define what an angel looks like. We're all angels for one another. But the angels of connecting, they can speak to you through songs, uh, some typical ones, and we're not limited to any of them because, again, they are specific to you. And so, whether it be a song or a feather or a dime or a penny, license plate numbers, angels numbers, like this I carried in my car for years, and it is Angel Numbers by Doreen Virtue. Um, and while Doreen Virtue may not be practicing this still resonates for me as true. And so, therefore, it's still used in my world. But first, we have to ask, invite them in. It is really very simple. We ask, allow, believe, and receive. And sometimes it's the allowing that people can struggle with because, oh, who am I? Well, you are a child of the universe. You are beloved. And the angels are there to assist us in this experience in Earth right now. That's my opinion, at least.
I love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, how do you, when you are, let's say, you are going into like even our platform mediumship events that we have done.
Molly, I'm so sad.
Oh no.
Okay.
Well,
that is interesting that you can't hear her. She was just saying that when you're going into your platform mediumship work, and I believe she was going to ask like on the preparation, Molly, is that what you're?
No, I was curious to see. Yeah, it's like we're playing telephone on the telephone.
Fun. We've done this a couple times. We're here for entertainment.
If nothing
And
else,
learning.
right?
Right.
Right.
So, how can you tell the difference between messages from deceased loved ones and messages that are from members of either your own or the person that you're reading for, their spirit team?
Okay. So she asked when you're preparing for
I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to also tune in, psychically
Mhm.
because it
But what's funny is
energetically.
they're also going to see how well or not well I play telephone.
I may just start
So,
typing my questions in the comments on
yep,
Facebook.
that might be happening. Okay, no. Be ready. I got my host chat ready. So when you're preparing for a big event like our platform events that we do, how can
Mhm.
you tell the difference between a deceased loved one and your spirit team? And that may even be like guides versus angels, even.
There is absolutely it is like when you are going, say you're walking, and have you ever had it where that you feel the temperature change?
Mhm.
It is that way for a vibrational. There is a different vibration. Now, someone, when I sat down, I share readings. I do readings for clients, and I also am receive readings as well. Um, for me, it doesn't sound like a high pitched. But this person, when she was reading me, she went, you work with the angels, and it was hurting her ears
Mhm.
because it was a vibration that she was not familiar with. And so for me, it's very natural. But the difference with a loved one, like someone who has lived on earth, who has had a body, uh, their vibration is a little denser
Mhm.
than the effervescent angels. And both of you have experienced when there's been angels around me. How do you experience them?
That's very interesting because I was just thinking while you were talking of when they come to me, and this actually just recently, I may have even been in the shower, you guys. I get lots of messages in the shower
Uh,
because
Mhm.
you know, because I
oh,
finally am like able to tune everything out while I'm doing mindless
mhm,
activities. So they showed me, they were like, listen, this is how angels are coming into you. This is how they're showing up for you. So for me, they showed me how they almost are a little elevated around the
yeah,
person that I'm reading.
mhm,
And even like their loved ones tend to come and stand, they'll stand on either side of them, but the angels are up higher, and so
mhm,
they were able to show me that. And even guides, so they've shown me, but then I clarified and said, okay, can we clarify, is this what you're showing me? Like, this is loved one, they're coming next to me, their guides are standing next to them,
mhm,
the angels are standing a little above them, and
mhm.
my claircognizance, my inner knowing pops right on in. I'm like, oh, you've got an angel. They're like, oh, how do you know? I'm like, I
Right.
no, I'm just kidding, that's not my answer, but
Something like
Well,
that.
but it is. I mean, there is an energy shift, very much like when you go into a cave as you're descending, it gets cooler. There is a different energetic range,
Mhm.
and the hierarchy tends to be um, more effervescent, is the way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's more of a color versus if it's a loved one that is crossed transition, I will see images, images of when they were younger, or I will clairvoyantly see many
Mhm.
times. um, with the hierarchy, with the angels, ascended masters, they're just, it's a vibration. There's a clarity there for me. Um, and I continue to learn more about that. About every September, around the eclipses, there tends to be a new energy that I will start noticing, becoming aware of. And I will start allowing that and asking questions. And then one of my mentors, Sunny Dawn Johnston, every Christmas she does an angel or a word for the year as service. And for the last 4 years, she has given a name to an angel that has introduced it themselves to me. Again, angels are neither male or female, or some have, they're androgynous. However, there are sometimes that there's more of a divine feminine energy and masculine, but that gets a little confusing too to explain. Um, but everyone has angels. All we have to do is call upon them. And the archangels, um, they can be everywhere. They can be everywhere and with everyone. Because somebody's like, oh, I called on Michael today. Well, everybody can call on Michael today. Everybody can experience those gifts. And people are like, well, if Michael's with you, how can they be with me? They can be everywhere because they are not limited by the density of a body. And but along with that, with a loved one that's passed, I will see them typically. They will show me, give me evidence, clairvoyantly, typically, and it's just a denser energy. With an angel, I don't see, like, if Metatron pops in, I will suddenly start standing straighter, and it just, my body will respond um, in a different way with different angels. Jophiel is really carefree, effervescent. So they do differ. They differ. And I'm continuing to learn and discern and expand and experience with them.
That's incredible. And I have gotten the ringing in my ears. And I will say, when that happens for me, I'm like, okay, let me adjust so I can connect and hear what's happening.
And you can ask them to slow down.
Okay.
You can ask them to slow it down. You can ask them also when people start coughing sometimes, that spirit might be really close to them. We can ask them to back up a little bit. They're not to be feared. They're not to be feared. They're there to support us. Often with people that show up at a class or a workshop or at events or clients, often their guides are like, okay, they will show like the impression I get is like of them filing their nails, like, we're waiting, come on, we're here, and they're growing. So typically guides have walked, my understanding, again, this is my understanding, I am not an expert. Um, this is just what I know to be true. And as always, if you have an experience that differs, stay true to what it is that you're receiving, because it's very personal for each of us. My understanding is that guides have typically walked this earth, and they continue when we leave our body, when we cross the veil, when we return to spirit. My understanding is that we have choices then, depending on our soul and what we are choosing to experience. We can become a guide sometimes to assist someone here in earth. If we walk this earth, there is a different density than those that have not. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually been mine. I'll let Molly say a few words. Let's hear from Molly.
Okay.
I know,
I wish
Ellen, you might not be able to.
I'm convinced of doing charades.
Well, and it's funny because I can't, Ellen's face is frozen in my screen. So there's all sorts of
We are
weirdness
pure
happening here.
entertainment, y'all. That's
I just hope everybody
part
can
of
hear
it.
all of us on the user side, the
I
audience
think
side.
so because when we figured this out, I got a comment. So if I'm looking aside, you guys, I'm looking at the comments, but
I am too.
they did say there was feedback. Then we got the headphones on. So from what I understand, they can hear all three of us. Even if we can't hear all three of us, I can hear both of you. So
Awesome.
we're doing well. We're doing well.
Awesome.
But yeah, I
Are there any
experienced them.
questions?
Yes, I'm gonna look at those now, and then Molly, I'll see what Molly was gonna comment here, and then I'll roll with some questions for you.
No, I was just going to say that I experience guides and deceased loved ones and angels differently as well. I feel things. We were talking about vibration, and it is definitely a vibrational difference between those three things, but I feel them on more of there's an emotional an emotional signature that's kind of tied with each. So the way that I experience them is a little bit differently. I also can it's interesting because one of the things that we often talk about too is who are our guides, who are the angels that we are working with. And so often I don't get a lot of detailed like faces and visuals, but what I will get is sometimes sounds, sometimes colors. I hear a lot of basically everything I connect to has a sound associated with it. So it's I can differentiate that way. But yeah, just another example of how we all experience these things a little bit differently.
I love that you say that you get sounds, and I do get a lot of that information clairvoyantly as well. Because I was sitting, I told one of the practitioners here at Healing Within, I was like, yeah, so I had this new guide step in before I started my mediumship course. And she goes, I'm sorry, who was that? And it was it was an ascended master that I wasn't aware of. And I was like, that shit's cool. Like,
Yeah.
but it was like I had no idea. So I know I get it clairvoyantly, but it's the fact of like being curious and getting to know it for yourself. So I really love also, and I'm going to jump into some questions if you're okay there. And then Molly, if you'll type me if you have other questions too.
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. Feel free if it's in the host chat or through text. I could get either, just so you know.
Okay. I'll try it in the host chat there.
Okay, cool. But it's just amazing to me how the information comes for everybody. And I love what Ellen said about being true. Like, what resonates for true for you? Because there have been many of these talks that we've done now, and I'm super grateful that we've got this group. And I've had people say, well, this is what mine is, and this is what I believe. And it really bothered me that this person said this. And I'm like, stick with what's true to you. I'm not an expert.
And that's sometimes we need to give permission to that, like, yes, whatever it is that you are receiving, it's trusting that process, because that is the relationship. This is the relationship between our hearts, our spirits, and so that's why, I mean, every teacher I have ever had said, question it. If it doesn't resonate for you, it doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that maybe you haven't experienced it in that way. And everything is very different. I mean, it's just different. How I experience Archangel Michael or Metatron, you may have a totally different experience. Neither of them, I mean, they're perfect for us because they come to us in the way that we will most easily open and receive them.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So what's some advice that you would give some of the newbies out there learning to trust when they're getting information.
Wait. There's more to that question.
Yes.
So I'm laughing simply because I would ask. So I have a practice in the morning. I journal every morning, gratitude and what would make today great, which kind of gets my mindset into the curiosity of, boy, what would make today great? And then in that space, I ask for demonstrations. So I call in my angels. Angels, please intervene in my life for the highest and best today. And then I have to allow it. So you have to be looking for it. The law of attraction, what we are seeking is seeking us as well. And so I was one that I would get a sign. For instance, I walked out of Books a Million one day. I was struggling. I said, Angel, I just need to feel you close to me. I just need a sign. I walked out of Books a Million, and there was a little vortex of energy, and a white feather comes falling down.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I would say, oh, thank you, and thank them. Speak to them out loud. And then what I would do is do it again. Do it again. I'm so sure that my angels drink heavily. Do it again. Do it again. And so that trust is, so for instance, if you're wanting to meet a guide, you ask, you prayerfully ask, you go into your heart and ask. And then you look for the signs. There's somebody a name might pop in, or you might have a clerk at the grocery store, or a song might pop in with a name. There's all different ways that they will reach us if we only open up to allow. And so that's another thing is, open up and say, I am open and receptive. Help it to be clear, help me to understand. We have to ask, allow, and then so that belief, so that trust, that's for everybody. I still experience that, like, oh, was that really? Even though they've sent me like 4 signs in a row, they're like, oh my gosh, would you please just accept it? But the good thing is that they don't. They just love us. And so it's fun. You can even say, nothing is too big or too small. You can ask for a parking spot,
Parking
up
angels.
close. Parking angels.
That's a thing.
There are angels.
Is a thing.
There are. I have a friend that I don't think she's on, but she's like, I started to feel bad every time I went to the store. She's like, I can walk. Somebody else needs that. I'm like, she's like, but my parking angels, there's always one right up front. And we can get caught in that thinking like, oh, it's not important. There is nothing too big or too small to ask for comfort. That is what, they're God's messenger. I choose to call the God of my understanding God. It doesn't matter if you call God, universe, spirit, source. My hope is that no one allows the language to dissuade them. It is whatever is true for you.
Yeah.
And to just open up to that love that is available to them in the assistance. But asking for demonstrations. Oh, I'd like to, in playing that game, I'd like to hear a song. I promise you, you'll get in the car. There'll be a song on the radio, and you'll be like, really, really, no. I mean, we've all said
The
it. I know that I've
synchronicities.
heard each of us say, you just can't make this stuff up.
Absolutely.
It's the
Absolutely.
magic of working with your spirit team. And I could have times where I am in Ellen world just doing Ellen, and they're like, hello, are you listening? We've sent you all these signs. Hello. But that's our intuition. It's who we are. We are spirit and body first. We came from love. We return to love. And there is so much love that surrounds us, so much grace. It's usually us deciding that we're going to lean into that grace and that love and that help. And many of us come from backgrounds where we've had survival mode. We've known how to do survival mode, right? And so, kind of like that Staples commercial, I like that easy button. Not too long ago, one of my guides in my journaling, was kind of, it was very clear that how I am the one who gets in my own way. And I had another mentor say, if it's not easy, it's not yours to do. Let that sink in. If it's not easy, it's not yours to do.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning so much.
And we can do hard things.
Yes.
It's both of those things, right? And we can do hard things. But learning to trust. Ask for a sign. Ask to see a bird. Ask to see a certain name. Ask.
Would
and
you
then
say
when
that?
it,
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, would you say that's the same when connecting to like Master Jesus or Archangel Michael? Like the same,
Absolutely.
like just ask for that confirmation. Because some of our newbies are like in the beginning when I first did my beginning journey, because I've done some shamanic work as well, and I was like, I just talked to Jesus. Like, I don't know if I want to share that, but I just walked with Jesus. So
yeah. It's true.
Cool.
It's true. And it's fun. It is fun to develop that relationship. We don't have to be in a crisis. Now, Archangel Michael is someone that I ask every morning to help maintain my energy, because so many of us are empathic. And so we tend to absorb other people's energy and not observe it. And Michael, I visualize for me, and you two know this about me, a little Glinda bubble, and you can have, it can either be an amber or a blue. It could be any color you choose. It was suggested to me not to use white because so many things kind of like that can attract a lot of different energies.
It's a universal, color.
If you're doing it to maintain your energy. So amber, like Archangel Michael, vibrates. It's a blue, a very deep blue, and the pink, like the Glinda bubble, that's unconditional love. Again, these are my interpretations. You do what you are guided for you. The saying that I say is that my energy and my thoughts be my own. Only love comes to and through me. And I give thanks for Archangel Michael to help to maintain my energy. And in these times right now, goodness, we all knew that 2020 was going to be that nothing was going to be unseen. Nothing was going to be swept under the rug. Many of us had an idea it was going to be a big year. I don't know if anybody actually saw the virus, but we saw the opportunity, right?
Mhm.
But asking Archangel Michael to help maintain your energy, because so often we don't know where we end and another person begins. And so it can get kind of, our energy gets so enmeshed. And so also, if it resonates for anyone out there, to be very mindful of clearing your own energy, even more so right now. I have a lot of practice at maintaining my own energy, and it's been really challenging.
Yeah.
As of late.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask a couple questions that I have in the group, if that's okay. And then Molly, of course, if you have more that you want to share, you could speak it, but also
Oh,
type
I'm
it.
so
Nothing related.
sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry. This is something that we've been learning to do together. So technology, it's technology, and we're rolling. We're
No.
rolling with it. So, she and I are in communication. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions in the group, and then I'll look back at Molly's too. But we're definitely getting some comments. So Chrissy asks, "What's the difference between soulmate and twin flame?" Do you have any feedback on that? It's not really spirit team related, but maybe it is. I don't know.
This question has come up so many times for me this week.
Oh,
Everybody
So,
seems to be asking this
do you
question
want to
right
answer
now.
that, Molly?
I can. Yeah, I because there's a
I didn't hear what she said.
she said she
we all
can.
we all have our own little spin on this, I think. But the way that I've come to understand it is that we can come into this incarnation connected to several different souls on a deep and spiritual level, that level that we would identify as a soul mate. It doesn't necessarily have to have or have to involve a romantic partnership. Some of the people in my life that I identify as soulmates are people that I am just very dear friends with. Some of them are family members. And some of them I have had romantic relationships with, but it's not something that was meant to last long term. It was something where we helped each other grow. And my experience with twin flame is that typically there is one twin flame. Very often it does involve a romantic connection, a very deep, powerful, passionate attraction. But the basis of that connection is that the two souls are helping each other really grow on a very deep level during this lifetime, and what that often results in is a lot of volatility between the two, a lot of push and pull, a lot of back and forth, a lot of coming together and separating, as they are trying to work through the various pieces that they need to work through. And sometimes they end up together, and sometimes they can't quite put the pieces together in this lifetime to make it happen. But it's a very, very deep, powerful, emotional, passionate connection that resonates. I mean, just you can lean into the energy of that and feel the difference between the two, the soulmate and the twin flame. So hopefully that makes sense.
That was a great answer, Ellen. She gave a great answer. I know you
I have no
couldn't hear it,
doubt.
but it was
I have no
amazing,
doubt.
hands down. Okay,
May I
so
say one thing about
yes,
the twin flame? So, twin flames sometimes it seems to be commercialized right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have said that. Sometimes it is unhealed trauma that our souls are recognizing each other. Sometimes it's romanticized instead of, we always have choice. We are in this lifetime. And so a twin flame, they have incarnated. I have there. I was taught that one would stay here and one would be on the other side, but they have incarnated. I mean, they're more and more finding each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll just keep that brief because we have other questions. But sometimes people confuse trauma, unhealed trauma at the soul level with a twin flame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love
I
what
see
you
that
both have to
more
say.
and more. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a great question. And it's so Aurelia asked, when you dream of someone that is passed, are they connecting with you or is that your brain thinking of them? And I'll just say, in my opinion, that's them coming to you and communicating with you, in my opinion. And it feels very real because it is real.
Yeah. I've honestly experienced both. And when they are visiting me in a dream state, there's a very palpable feeling. The energy is totally different than it is for them to just appear in a dream. So I have experienced both, but again, we all work a little bit differently.
Yeah. Anything you want to add about that? I know you didn't get to hear Molly.
No, but I just agree that we're in an altered state of consciousness then, and so vibrationally, and we have different waves in our sleep. But if you have a visitation in your dream, absolutely, I believe that those souls are connecting in
And
a
it's
very
amazing.
real way, very real way.
And it can be very emotional too, because I have
Mhm.
experienced it. And Molly was saying she's experienced it both ways. And so it's so powerful.
Yeah, it really is.
Someone asked if we were doing readings tonight. So I just want to give you feedback. We're not doing readings tonight, but we will be doing readings Saturday night at 9. I'll be here. I will be here. And Gina said, hello, you guys look beautiful. Thank you, Gina.
Aw.
Hi, Gina. And Jill Marie says, before my grandmother passed, she was visited by a man with a red tie where he told her she was going to be with him. She was also made, she was so mad at my grandfather because he wasn't going with her. So she just had that comment, which is powerful. I don't know who the man in the red tie was, but absolutely we have people that come help us along the way. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Vanessa Blackburn says, before my mom passed, a little girl came to the door and my mom saw her and told me about her. Linda G. Witt says, hello, Ellen Elizabeth. Good to see y'all. Let's see. And then Sandra, she's in Hawaii. I always love that. I love that she's in Hawaii. May I ask what y'all see when you see or speak with my highest self? This is a great question. What would be my best line of new career? I don't know if we'll have that answer for you just yet, but what does my highest self? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think this is a really great opportunity for us to talk about the higher self versus spirit guide, because I think it's a question a lot of people have.
It is. And let me kind of give you what's here, because there's
sure.
No, yeah, it's perfect, because I do think this is a great topic about highest self. What does my highest self and highest spirit say or want me to do for my greatest, for myself and for all? Do you all see me in any kind of spiritual work? So let's talk about the highest self. Let's talk about the highest self, even though I may not, Sandra, we may not answer your question directly. That's a great question, but let's talk about the highest self so that you can connect with that. Molly, do you want to go first?
Sure. This is another thing that's been coming up quite a bit lately, and it can often be really confusing when, especially if you're new to energy work, you're hearing a lot of terms being thrown around, guardian angel, spirit guide, higher self, and trying to understand the difference between these things. So the higher self is really that part of your soul that is in closest connection to the divine. So it can, communication with the higher self can feel very similar to communication with a guide, because it is coming from that higher and evolved state, versus, like, communication with a deceased loved one. Again, that vibrational energy is going to feel very different, but it is that piece of us that is most closely connected to the divine. And so they really have, that part of us has that ability to tap into that higher wisdom, that more evolved, ascended wisdom, compared to, our gut instinct, or, maybe even at times, again, our deceased loved ones, or at times even guides. They can come in with a little bit of a different feel, but again, great wisdom that is available from that source.
Ellen, what do you? And that was great. I always tell people, like,
I was watching her.
I'm trying to,
I was like, yeah, there, and I was watching her.
All of the hands.
And I'm over here like, let me check the comments. This is so. I love the higher self. I always tell people, like, there's a piece of me up here, my soul piece up here, and there's a piece of me here. So, that's usually my explanation, right? So, Ellen, what kind of feedback do you have on the higher self? Oh goodness, we lost her.
She's going directly to source for this one.
There?
There she is. Okay.
So no, it's true. So there is your highest self. So the highest self is, well, it's not the ego. So the ego arises a lot of times when we are expanding, or, the ego's job is to keep us feeling safe and secure and in patterns, right? Not all of our patterns are healthy for us, right? So as we're experiencing expanding. So asking our higher self, part of the soul, for me, it is always speaking words of encouragement and love and confidence. It is calibrating this, right? It's calibrating our heads and our hearts. It's discernment and asking to be shown or to hear with clarity. We have to be grounded. We have to be grounded. I spent so much time out of my body, because I liked it. However, in order to do this work, we have to be grounded, and we have to be in our body. And
Absolutely.
so, and it's usually about, for me, it's hand to heart. This actually, our hand touching our heart actually activates neurons, and we have, well, that's heart math. We have dendrites in our heart, and actually our heart's wisdom knows. Our higher self lives in our heart as well.
That's so interesting, because I found myself more and more like tapping or rubbing.
Yeah, I've been doing that too.
A lot.
I hear you. I hear you.
It's a miracle. Our tech angels.
Oh, it's amazing. Yes. Yay! Hallelujah. To ask the angels. And just to answer a quick question, Metatron is an archangel. Someone asked it, so an archangel. And she's taken lots of notes today, and she's super grateful. So
yeah, Metatron works directly with he oversees the Akashic records. Is one of the main things that he does. Yeah.
And he also, so my experience with Metatron at first, which you may or may not find as much out there, gifted. All children are gifted. Those who are very sensitive, that are open, he oversees their abilities. So Metatron was introduced when I was teaching. Mother Mary would be one that would be present. and Metatron. And then I now, in hindsight, recognize that, wow, because these children were teaching me all along the way and talking about people that they saw in the school, talking about people that visited them, past lives, all of it. But yes, Metatron, Michael, Melchizedek are like the 3 power M's.
I love that. That's
Yeah, I do
awesome.
too.
She's grateful for that answer. Okay, so and I'm just kind of scanning through here. Sorry, I thought I'd have a question ready. We did have sometimes a spirit animal is a horse, right? So sometimes, I'm sorry, a soulmate, twin flame can be a horse,
Okay,
can be an
so
animal.
I can't see who shared that. However, there is a friend of mine that absolutely, she kind of has a twin flame that is a beautiful soul of a horse, and
Isn't that amazing?
the love that those two share. Oh,
I love that.
beautiful.
I mean, I love animals. And yes, I would, that was probably her.
Yeah.
If it was, if it was
Yes,
Christy, yeah,
it was.
Yes.
yeah, I was
And she had
feeling her.
laughy emojis on there, but that's
Yeah, I was
beautiful.
feeling her. Yeah.
So Linda asked, can someone who passed send a song the day that they passed?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And people ask me all the time about
Absolutely.
if spirit can communicate, you know, do you have to wait a year? Do you have to wait till this time? And I do not experience that. I actually experience they may shift in how they communicate,
Mm-hmm.
but they can still come through to me no matter when they pass. Do you all agree? I mean, I see your nods,
Absolutely.
but I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think honestly, it depends on the individual spirit. I think it can vary from spirit to spirit, but is the potential there? Absolutely. And there are, I mean, myriad stories, incredible stories of people getting visitations from their loved ones, either just as they are passing or immediately after they have passed. I mean, within moments. You know, all sorts of things from seeing them full body to phone calls to rainbows. Inexplicably. So yeah, absolutely.
Which is a great point. So have you ever, I've heard many people share that all of a sudden they'll receive a phone call from their deceased loved one. So it's important for those who may not know, as it is energy, they can absolutely manipulate lights. So the flickering of the lights, um, radio, you know, they're, you know, I don't know exactly how they put it in queue, but I absolutely believe they can. Or they'll receive a phone call. So many experiences like that. And so really it's to the person who the message is for, it's their choice to receive that or not receive that. It's true for them. But do I believe it? Absolutely.
Me too. And we've had a lot of activity. There was one day we were on, I think it was when we were talking with Thomas last week, and my lights were flickering so much. And I looked over and I was like, who is doing that? And they were just in front of the light doing this. Like, hey, you see me? Do you see me? Do you see me now? I was like, oh, okay, I see you. Thanks for making me aware. So I know that we're close on time here. We're almost at our hour mark. First, I want to share gratitude for Ellen for jumping on with Molly and myself,
Absolutely.
and
Thank
gratitude
you.
for you being so patient with our technology, which she and I, you know what? It was interesting. Like you went black, you came back, and then you could hear
I could
Molly.
hear again.
It was
but
magic.
It was.
I
I
love
love
magic.
magic.
I do too.
So good.
The best
So-
way to fix tech problems, hands down.
We should have called them in sooner. We're talking about spirit camp. Why didn't I call them in sooner? Just one last question. Recommended book for learning about the angels and archangels. Do you have any? Either of you,
You
really.
know, I do. I do. So, my mentor and soul sister, Sunny Dawn Johnston, has a great book called Invoking the Archangels. It is very clear, with experiences, her own experiences, and also some things that you can do as well. I'm not sure. I had the thought when I was in the shower, because that's just, when we get messages, that to double check, because she did have a course on the Daily Own, Invoking the Archangels. Um, it's a great book. There's many books, Kyle Gray. I mean, there's many, many books out there. And I trust that if you ask, just ask, hey, what would be a good book? You're going to Google and something's going to come up that is perfect for you. But for me, the Invoking the Archangels with Sunny Dawn Johnston changed my life. And I love Kyle Gray.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do too.
Actually, I learned about Kyle Gray from Molly. And
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I
That's fun.
did. And I have some of his cards. So
Yeah, I love.
yeah.
Keepers of
He's
the Light.
amazing.
Yes,
Yes.
I use them often. I love them
Love.
so much. Yes.
Love them.
I
And it's
love his
interesting. I
accent.
mean, yes, I do too. We talked about Doreen Virtue earlier, and she did an extensive amount of writing and working with angels, and she is no longer practicing. But I think her work still in that particular arena still holds true.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was many, 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 many years ago. I went to an I Can Do It conference with Louise Hay, and Doreen Virtue was there with Evoking the Archangels. And so, yes, her material is still very vibrant for me and very, very real. In fact, she was one of the ones who taught. Actually, every one of my teachers always said, hear what I'm sharing with you, and you take what it is that resonates for you, and don't stop there. Explore. Don't stop there. So, yes, Doreen, you know what? That's so funny, because that was one of my main teachers, Healing with the Angels, those books too. But I just answered what came to me. But you're right. Doreen Virtue has a lot of material out there that is still, if you can find it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it is becoming harder, but yeah, it's still. I know, like in the Louisville area here, we've got Half Price Books. So there's some great used bookstores that still you can find her work in. I know it's becoming harder in like the main first print bookshops, but it's out there.
That came to mind for me too, was Half Price Books. So Spirit must have been pushing that through, like, go there.
Yeah.
They got them all.
Yeah, it's great for books. It's great for decks if you want oracle or tarot card decks. It's great for both of those things.
Ellen, where can people find you? Do you have a website?
I do. www.ellenelizabethjones.com.
Perfect. And we've
And
got
they can also Golden Key Messages on Facebook, or you can friend me. It is a community of people that are exploring, expanding, elevating their consciousness and experiences. So it is a safe place to discuss and explore and empower one another.
It's a beautiful group. I remember when you were
really
to open it. It's really beautiful. So I'm grateful for the messages that I received there. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We've got Ellen's, I will tag Ellen's website in the comments. We will, and ladies, feel free to go through and look at the comments and comment wherever you'd like. And I will do the same. And Ellen's, I put your love donation link up. I put your Venmo link up. So if you want to share a love donation, it's open if you would like to. If you feel guided. So that's up for you as well. And thank you, Ellen. We'd love to have you back too. We would love
we could have some more conversations or do some readings together. That would
Yeah.
be fun.
That
Oh,
would be
that
fun.
sounds
That
fun.
would be a lot of
I
fun.
know they would love that.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right,
it'd
you
be
guys.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find a date and we'll do that. So,
Yay.
all right.
Blessings,
Thank
peace.
you
I love
all.
you, ladies. Bye.
Love
Love you
you.
too. Thank you so much,
Bye.
Ellen.
Bye.
Bye.